Excellent. Hello Patricia, thank you for joining. That was prudent. Now then, let me see if I, in amongst the mess of that I've got in this room, whether I can manage to prop my phone up somewhere so I can see the comments. Cool. Hi Kirsty, could you just let me know that you can hear me, darlings? That would be much appreciated. Hi Patricia. Yeah, I'm slightly early today, but I like to be prepared, and it's always good, although timing is less critical, isn't it? Because they're there for watching back, which is cool. Hi Philip, thank you. Thank you for joining us. We'll just wait till the clock to tick round a little bit. Can someone just tell me they can hear me? Because that would be amazing. Otherwise, thank you darling, that's much appreciated. That way at least I know what is going on. Hi Jill, thank you. I hope all is well and with everyone. So let me just swap my devices. There we are, that's better. And then I can see what's going on and I'm in the right place for what I need to do. Thank you Sue. Hi Anya, thank you for joining us again. It's lovely to see you. It's really appreciated when people take the time out of their day to spend time with me. I much appreciate it. So let me just clear some of the mess. We've got a summary project. I'm using a whole range of products today. I've got the Blanche moulds. These are the ones that I have already coated with black gesso, and I'll explain later on why I chose to use the black gesso with those ones. I have some Stamperia moulds which I have coated in white gesso and left those to dry. And then I have some Mad Hatter's MDF pieces here, a little bit of Stamperia ephemera, and then lots and lots of Pentart medium sitting on my desk. Yes, Julie, it is now raining again. Was it raining 2 minutes before I started the live? No, it was not. It was perfectly dry 2 minutes before I started the live, and of course the heavens have opened. But welcome to the northwest of England. Good evening Sheila, thank you for joining us darling. I hope you are well tonight. So yeah, we've just clocked on, and I'm going to shovel some of this stuff out of the way. There we are. And come back to that. So that's what we're using. That's the plan. Let me get rid of that, though I will use that later on. So these 3 pieces are Mad Hatter's MDF, and it's the wood panels, and I am going to decorate them separately, and ultimately after the live I will be putting some string through them, but not tonight, and you'll see why I'm not going to do that at that stage. Good evening Liz, thank you for joining us, it's much appreciated. So I'm just going to do these one at a time because it's going to be easier for me to do that. Right, so I have got some of my very thick primer paste here, and I've deliberately chosen this because it is so thick, because I'm going to do an effect with it tonight. Sorry Wendy, I know that means I'm going to cover up all of your beautifully etched markings, but I wanted to show that you can create effects with your primer paste, because it is so thick, and because it's a primer paste, it will dry relatively quickly, which will make my life much easier later on. So that is literally just a layer of primer paste. I've got these to hand, and I'm going to repeat this on all of my boards. And I have this odd looking tool, and it's a wood graining tool, and I'm going to start with this end, which has got the little curves at the top, and then I'm going to rock it down my piece, and that's created me quite a lot of texture. It's glaring, isn't it, if I pop it down from there? So that's quite cool from there, and I need to get that off there so that I can then not waste that for the next one. It's a very good tool. It's a very good tool. It's just going to add some wood graining texture. The DIY ones for houses that you can pick up off a well-known search engine are maybe a little bit too clumsy, and the spacing is a bit wider than that one. But yeah, you gotta love a wood graining tool. It was just going to, you know, and you don't need to stress about it, because actually, you know, wood grain isn't perfect, is it? So, but that was my purpose of tonight, was to show you something that's a bit different. Oh, I've got some black in there. How naughty of me. Let's just fish that out of there. So on there, rock, and I've got lots too much, but that's okay. So I'm just creating myself lots of texture. I haven't got great knots in that, and that's also fine. If I wanted to, I could take it off and start again. What I'm doing is actually picking up the black burn from the side of my MDF, because MDF it inevitably does. You can see that I've got black in there, so let me just give that a jolly good wipe. It doesn't have to be spotless, and maybe we will be nice to the environment and not use 3 tons of things. Diane, let me show you what I would do if you haven't got it, and then I'll take it off and I'll redo it with it. Because an embossing, because I'm using a paint technique, you'd have to basically cut your pieces from your embossing folder, or you could push it into it, I guess. If if it's one that has texture for embossing, you could possibly push it into it. But if I show you an alternative, and I can scrape it back, and then I might re-scrape the other one anyway. So if I didn't have a wood graining tool, then actually what I would do, let me just grab something that might work. So if you just grab the end of a paintbrush or a cocktail stick, then if you just make yourself some little sort of oval sort of shapes like this, and a half one at that end. I've quite often will do this. It gives you a different effect, and then just run and pick up the excess off your fingers, off it, and I can have another half one there, and I can run another one into there. So I'm making my own sort of wood pattern, if that makes sense. So that's what I would do if I didn't have a wood graining tool. If that makes sense. Hi Sabine. So as I say, that's what I would do. So this is the effect with a wood graining tool. It's much finer, a lot more texture. things, but that will also work. So if I just smooth this over, I might re-smooth that other one because it's not the best example, and pop that over there, and then I can take my wood graining tool and pop it on. There we are, and there I've got my faux wood grain effect. And if I like that one better than I do that one, so let me just, this is the joy of this, is I can squash this out, re-add some up here where I don't like it. Each one's going to be different because they're going to be each be done differently. And the amount of paste is going to be a little bit different on each of them, and that's just going to give me lots of texture. Good evening, Joan. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, as ever, we are battling several lives going on at the same time. Let me just wipe some of that off there. I don't really want the paint setting in that tool because it's not going to help it long term. It'll clog it all up. So with the tool, pop it down, drag slowly and down, and there we are. So let me just scrape what I can off there, pop it back in my pot and have a little clean down, because otherwise we're going to have a bit of a pickly sticky mess, and a pickly sticky mess is not what I require tonight for any of this. As I say, it's quite a good idea to get rid of the paint off these, out the grooves, before it dries, because you need your grooves in your wood graining tool for it to work. And it's not much fun having to get your husband to chisel it all out line by line. He doesn't particularly appreciate it when I've done that. So let me just bear with while we give it a reasonable clean and tidy. I need to be careful that I don't push anything too heavy or hard into my bin that's next to me, because I know that I put a broken cup into there earlier on today, and I do not require to have a cut at this point in the evening. So that can be reasonably cleaned. As I say, it is quite important to look after your tools, because otherwise you'll struggle. I think you'll find that you might find one of these on the Highlight Crafts website. I think they've bought one recent some point in the last few months that looks very, very similar, and the other side of it has got just pokey bits so that you can do other things. So let me just get this reasonably clean. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but I do want to protect the channels as much as possible. So what has everyone been doing today while I master the art of making a mess and clearing down? Cool. So those now need, that can go out of the way. I'm going to give, oops, she says, editing a computer controls. I am going to give this a wipe down, because otherwise we're going to have a mess, and I'm going to transfer gubbins over everything. So I might ultimately need another paint colour, but hey ho, I've got one of those lurking. That's better. So So 1, 2, 3. We'll have them in that direction. Oh, what a mess. Sticky, yucky, icky. Don't like that. We'll have a good clean. And we've managed to get it on that too. So, so I don't then put my hands in these. I'm going to give them a good last dry. You've been cutting up card, so you've got achy hands. I spent this afternoon die cutting, lots of tags, a pretty circle, and lots of foam with a floral die cutter. So there we are, and that's all. I think Liz and I are both getting ready because we're teaching this weekend at a retreat up in the Derbyshire Hills, which will be cool. The joy of using the primer paste for this is I've got lots of texture, but it will dry relatively quickly, and then I can add some colour over the top. So bear with. I'm just going to dry these a little bit, and then I'm going to paint some of the mould pieces. You've been, oh dear, childcare and housekeeping and cleaning, Faith. It's a pain in the ass, but it just has to be done. I'm very lucky I have a husband who does all of that. And my son even cooked tea for me this evening, which is even better. Even better. So when you're drying with a heat tool as opposed to things drying naturally, the heat gun sets the surface, and then so it looks like it's gone dry, and then if you move the heat tool away from it, it becomes shiny again, and that's because you've only dried the very top of the medium, and underneath is still soaking wet, and so as you move off and that wet medium underneath, the water comes to the surface. So that's why I'm going to go back and forth. Yeah, okay. I guess the housework and washing is probably on the go. Shopping I do. My hubby is not best at thinking ahead. He'll go and get what we need for today, or what he thinks we need for today, but then forgets about tomorrow and the day after. So he then goes shopping every single day, which is cool, but maybe not the most time efficient of activities. I have to say I have dispatched him out to fix the car and check the tyre pressures. I'm so not a car maintenance person. If I can get these reasonably dry, then I'm not going to end up squashing the texture too much. Mine comes back with cakes and biscuits. Mine doesn't necessarily come back with cakes and biscuits, but 3 bags of carrots when we've got 2 in the fridge has been known. And he definitely has a thing about running out of milk. I've often got, even though there's only often 3 adults in the house, I've usually got 3 4-litre bottles of milk. And the second child when she's at home really shouldn't be having very much that's got lactose in it. So we can't even justify it and say there's 4 of us drinking lots of milk, because that's way not true either. So I've got areas of this that are thicker than others and things. So I happen to know, Jill, one of the favourite cakes in your household would be carrot cake. I think in this household it would be a Victoria sponge cake, or maybe a lemon drizzle cake. I haven't seen Martin on tonight, so he can't. His preference would definitely be a biscuit of some kind, I think. These are drying, I can assure you. Ooh, homemade rice pudding with excess milk. Yeah, they won't eat that either. The only rice pudding they eat comes out of the tin, the heathens. I used to love this skin on a home-baked rice pudding. I remember my mum doing that when I was a child. Rice, milk, top of the milk, stuck in some sugar, stuck in the oven while the Sunday joint was cooking, giving a stir part way through, and then a good grating of nutmeg over the top. We might be getting there. We might be getting there. Let's debung that hole while the going is good. You know that there's an hole there. There we are. His dishwasher and bin then. Sounds a very youthful young man. Absolutely fighting over the skin and the crunchy bits from around the edge of the dish. Yeah, it has to be done. Anyone from abroad, yes, the ladies who are watching from abroad might think that we've lost the pot, and I think it's probably a very, very English activity, isn't it? Rather than maybe something that's traditionally had in other parts of the world. Right, I'm going to stop that noise and just pop these to the side and hope and pray that I don't then get my mitts in them, because they are still wet, but not as bad as they were, and they can sit there whilst we carry on, because we have some more bits to paint. You haven't made rice pudding in donkeys yet. Well, it's too easy to get a tin, isn't it? But it's just not. It really isn't the same. Much as I like a good tin from a well-known company, it's just not the same as a proper rice pudding cooked in the oven. It just isn't. Yeah. Right, so let me put those over there, pop that over there, pop these over here. So what are my mediums of choice tonight? Well, it has to be Pentart really, doesn't it? Because, oh, why wouldn't it be? So I have vintage green. I've deliberately chose. Don't you worry, Louisa, we all have a life. I'm just grateful that anyone feels that they like to join me. Well, I think tin rice pudding is just a very different dish, isn't it? It's completely different to a traditional English rice pudding. So I have, I think it's pine. Yeah, it's pine green tonight, because it's a much darker green. I did a live last night for Pentart, using some of these, but also some different things, and we'll mix it up a little bit. And I've chosen, hopefully, a very different style of project today, and also, different colours, different projects, different things. To make a mean bread pudding every so often. Yeah, my parents used to make bread pudding. Right? Whenever there was leftover bread, what went into it? Egg, bread. So my mum made two different. We had bread and butter pudding, which we definitely all, add marmalade, or ginger marmalade works really, really well. That wasn't clever on a bread and butter pudding. And then my mum had this sort of doughy, almost like a flat cakey bread that she would make when we had leftover bread lurking around, and that we had bread. I definitely had raisins, sultanas. I suspect, no, my mum, it probably had dried peel in it as well, because we always had that in the house. Look at me. Am I going to get myself in a mess tonight? Well, you tell me. So bread and butter pudding is different, isn't it, to my idea of a bread pudding, which is definitely more of a flat cake or a tea bread. But it didn't have any raising agent in it at all. I absolutely love homemade bread and butter pudding. It is one of those decadent luxuries in life that, to my mind, can't be beaten. Sunflowers, well, they just have to be yellow, don't they? There is no no other way around it, because that's what sunflowers are, bright yellow. So yeah, I think somewhere around, I think we probably have my mum's and my grandma's wartime recipe book. And bread pudding was definitely a wartime staple, wasn't it? Not the bread and butter pudding, but bread pudding, because that was a good way of using up whatever you had. Didn't require eggs, didn't require butter. You know, you could make it with relatively easily without. I must go find what was in it. I have a feeling the cookery book is up in the loft somewhere. So there we are. You absolutely can. You can get some beautiful different coloured sunflowers, and some of the sunflower moulds that come in, the moulds that comes with the Sunflower Arts collection, but the silicone one rather than the plastic one. Actually, those look almost like daisies, so you could do them I think as daisies or gerberas, anything that's got a big centre in it, relatively easily. And there are some stunning variants of sunflowers that you can get. Yeah, I think probably was a bit like lardy cake. I know my dad used to love lardy cake. He used to think it was brilliant. Not so sure it's my favourite activity. Excuse the heat gun again, ladies, but we'll give these another bit of bits, because these are now, I can see the water coming up to the surface, so I'm just going to, and I do need these to get dry in a reasonable period of time. Dripping on toast, Michelle. Never been something I fancy personally, but I know again it's something that was being had in the world wars, wasn't it? Because it was, you know, filled people up, kept them full, made the use of what was around. And they steamed fruit dumplings for it in a big pot. My mother-in-law, yeah, absolutely, the old-fashioned proper puddings. You know, in the days when flavoured yoghurt didn't exist in the UK, you know, so you may do with flour, egg, bread, you know, suet, fat of some description, sugar, the things that were around. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Well, I didn't know that, Joan, that people who had a child with an illness got some extra fruit, but good on them. I mean, they do say that the diet, although restricted during the World War, actually was enough for people's nutritional needs, and kept everyone very healthy. And we really ought to be taking a leaf out of that book to, you know, and going back to looking at the quantities that they had, and then reconciling that with what we're doing now, which is often a much bigger quantity of everything, isn't it? It was definitely, it's been proven, hasn't it, to have been a very, very healthy diet for people. I might be getting there with those, I might not be. I'm really sorry that you can't do a mixed media type project without having a heat gun out and adding layers of paint. Anyone who says it's just sticking pieces of paper together with a bit of distressing really hasn't understood the term mixed media. but I can't deny the fact that that's using more than one medium. It's definitely not my definition of mixed media. I'm having to dry these because I want to paint the centre of these flowers, and I can't really pick them up to do that while the yellow is wet. Did I think that through very well? Probably not. Might have been more sensible to paint the brown first. Highly likely, but hey ho, you lives and you learns. You lives and you learns. So, is anyone tempted by the ODS tonight? Good. Every black and white ink pad known to man made by Superlinko. She don't think it, plus the refills or re-inkers. I guess for the bundle it's not a bad price, but I suspect most of us have got more than one of some of them already and don't need the rest of it. 5 bob was 5 shillings, so yes Philip, that is indeed 25p. Though I strongly suspect 5 bob in those days probably would have bought more than £50 would in today's money, in real terms in today's money. Sad, isn't it really? But there we are. Let's carry on giving that a little wash. I remember depersonalisation and my mum being really cross as they were changing the sizes of things as they repriced things to their nearest conversions for price-wise. Because there were definitely some products where they changed the price but kept the upwards, but kept the product size the same. And she didn't feel that that was very fair for a currency that was being forced on us in her eyes. But there we are. Cool. Have I got a brown? I have got a brown. I've got a nice light brown tonight. There we are. Don't need lots of that. We've got, let's give that paintbrush a little waggle in a very dirty pot of water. You only remember decimalisation. You can go off some people, Philip. I am old enough to remember decimalisation. I was probably at junior school. I can't remember the exact date it happened. Oh dear, and we've missed some bits of the yellow, so we'll redo that in a minute. Let's just shovel that into there. Yeah, I remember. I'd absolutely remember it happening. Gives my age away. I was almost certainly at junior school, I think, when it happened. I think. Let me just catch the edge of that. I think she'd be horrified. A certain brand of butter, spreadable butter, springs to mind. You know, I think people can't afford a 700 a kilo pack, so downsize it to 750, and still increase the price, and then think people are stupid, because we're still going to have to buy the same amount of butter overall if you were using the 1 kilo pack. But hey ho, it is just part of life, isn't it? 10 bob notes. I haven't seen one of those for years, so that's the equivalent of today's 50p, isn't it? A 10 bob note. Because a pound was 20 shillings. There we are. We really are. Some of us really are showing our age. Right. Let me just have a shuffle around the desk job. Those won't matter like that. It might not be the neatest painting in the world, but I hope, if nothing else, you learn from me doing these live that you don't have to be an amazing painter to get nice results. It providing you know the tricks. So if nothing else. Right, so my next product of choice is Pigment Fix. So I would have been 10 when decimalisation took place then, Joan. Thank you for the time check, the year check. It's lovely to have, you know, well, you can learn different things, isn't it? From now, one of the issues with Pigment Fix is that you can mix it with any of your micas. Mica powders with your metal pigments. If you've got lindies, you can mix your lindies in with it. If you've got luscious powders, you can mix those in, and it will convert into a metallic paint. So you don't then need to have lots and lots of different metallic paints on the side. You can just have one pot of Pigment Fix and then your metal pigments, but then you add into it your other mediums. Now I'm not going to paint that in with that brush because I shall scrubble it and make a mess of it. So this is gold metal pigment from Pentart. I know Create and Craft have had them on LeBlanc shows. If you don't want to buy from Create and Craft, or they haven't got them in stock, then That's Crafty have them in stock, along with the art micas, as I said. But you could use any pigment powder as well, so that would also include the 13 Art Colour Go powders. So I said I would come back to say why I had painted these pieces black, and that's because I think you get a nicer coverage with your metals if you work on a black background rather than the white. It just gives a better depth of colour by doing that. So whenever and it wouldn't matter if even if I was using a metallic paint, I tend to paint the background in the black. And the joy of the pigments is that you get an almost foiled effect, rather than it looking like you've actually applied a paint, because it is genuinely a metal pigment in here. So it's almost you create your own liquid metal. Well, I think it was difficult, wasn't it, for people? It was a big change at the time. If you'd been brought up for over many generations, thinking in pounds, shillings, and pence, denominations of 12. How easy is that? Well, if you're born and brought up with it, I guess very easy. But actually, it's not very logical, is it? And I've no idea how it came about. My father used to convert all the time. I have to say, I occasionally do, and I certainly know how to convert, which is always a good thing, isn't it? But it's a bit like having to work in. We mix between inches and centimeters, don't we? The kids think we're mad, but the American card making is all done in inches, so. We've got the best of both worlds, because the European card making tends to be done in centimetres, so we understand both. And the Americans really struggle when it comes down to using a board marked for in centimetres, and they really don't understand that at all. And that must have been how many of our parents felt. When the transition happened, and I'm sure they spent a long time just converting back and forth, from pounds to pence, so they knew what they were they understood what they were actually paying, rather than that newfangled money, as my grandmother used to say. There we are. So from a, like, not being horrible to any of you, me being born at the end of 1963 makes me the young one. Yeah, possibly, because I was born in 1961. So yeah, you're younger than me. But the average age of of crafters in the UK, is 60 plus. If you're writing a magazine article, you're told to aim it at for the tastes of someone who is 60 plus. I'm gonna have to mix some more of this. I listened to myself, mixed up a small quantity. Let me just fish out the extra bits of black gesso that I've got poked through there, because I was very generous with my black gesso. So the joy for me was because of being born December 61, it allowed me to retire from the NHS on the original pension scheme. If I had been born a couple of years later, I would have ended up with a split pension scheme, and not being able to take the other half of it. I could have taken the bit that was in the original pot when I was 60, but not the rest of it. And then so I'd have ended up having to retire and then wait for it. So I know I still have some more of that, so let's shuffle that into there and put some more of that. Yep, we did have a little half-p, and we had an old 6-penny piece as well, didn't we? So you can see that from these little pots of powder look quite small, but you really don't need very much of them to get a very, very luxurious end result. And I'm actually going to layer some of these with some different colours. So we are, I don't know, do people like the fact that I paint everything from scratch bar the gessoing? Would they rather I had a lot of these pieces pre-painted and just painted 1 or 2 pieces on the lives in future? Happy to be guided and do what people want. I think it's these lives are here for everyone, but it's good sometimes to have feedback as to what people would like. There we are. Yeah, that was called a tanner. Absolutely. Yeah. I think we all think we're young. My body certainly thinks I'm young, she says, having been off skiing again at the weekend, and then it decided to be a pain in the ass because then I had a couple of tumbles and a sore back. But hey ho, will that stop me going skiing again? No, not a chance. I love being out on a ski slope, and it's so nice to return to it. Having not done it, having not done it for ages. We're lucky we've got an indoor ski slope that makes life easy. Right, now then, what have I done? Those will dry incredibly quickly. My yellow paint is still, that I retouched up, is still there. So let's just shovel some of this out of the way. I'm going to be doing a little bit of distressing and building shortly. Ooh, cool. Right, so what wood really doesn't look white, does it? Now I could paint this an ivory colour, but I'm not going to, because hey ho, life's too short. And actually I think this will work just as well. So this is like a wood stain. You could use one of the brown antiquing gels if you wanted. This is called a lasur, but it's essentially a stain product that I can wipe back as I want to, and it's going to sit in, and I can lift off some of this colour. The importance is, if you're lifting it off, to do so before it's too dry, otherwise it is permanent. But there's a nice range of colours in woody tones in these, and I should be able to pick up the texture. A crown and a half crown. So a crown was 25p, in modern age, and a half crown 12.5p. We are testing my memories as to what these were. So that is literally the Lasur gel over the top, and now I can wipe it back, and you will now see all of that texture that I put in there with my wood graining tool, which is why I went to the length of doing it, and why I chose to use the primer paste, because it's going to give me enough texture. You could use modelling paste. I don't think modelling paste light works as well, but you know, use what you have. But the thick primer paste really does work, and you can thin it down as a gesso. So again, it's a multi-use product, which again is cool, isn't it? Now you do have to remember to, there we are. So it's called a Lasur gel, Diane, and this one, I think this is called Palisander, but it's one of the browns. They do several different browns. There's a pine. You can make fabulous faux leather effects with these as well, and I believe that That's Crafty have them in stock, or at least some of them in stock. They are a great product. But if you've got the antiquing gels from Pentart, that would, or the vintage patinas from Stamperia, just give you some options, because I do think it's important to have options. Then those will do, yeah, very, very similar. It's not like the, there we are. Add some yellow paint on stuff, but that's fine. So I've now got some pieces that are there. These are now dry. That is not dry. So let me just add some of this onto my beautiful metallic piece. As I say, you can use these with, do this with, if you wanted, with antiquing gels, with vintage patinas. Those will work perfectly well. I think you could probably use the waxes that Cadence had on today on Create and Craft. I've no experience with Cadence, because I object to a product being described as a wax when it's water-based, because waxes are not water-based. But there we are, there's my little gripe out of the way and done with. You did need a shilling for the electricity meter, particularly if we were away on holiday. We didn't need it at home, but we definitely had them when we were on holiday. It was very common, wasn't it? Self-catering, no foreign holidays. So I can now wipe this back off the surface. And now this piece will link with background. That's Crafty's delivery is super quick. They are Laura and Graham are the only two people in the company, and they work incredibly quickly to try and get everything out. So that's now made a huge difference and adding in the depth to that piece, which is what I wanted it to do. And I'm layering my colours across my pieces deliberately, so that I can have, so that they all tie together. Who remembers the telly? I had to put two units in the back of it. No, I definitely don't remember that. But then we didn't have a telly until my great aunt decided she was going to upgrade to a colour telly, and she gave my parents a her telly. And I remember vividly, it would have been an old-fashioned Ford Transit, possibly, no, Ford something anyway, car that my dad had for work, and we went down to Broadstairs, so a couple of hours journey from home, in to visit my great aunt. We were given this telly, so mum and dad in the front, our luggage in the boot, and then 3 children and a whopping great big telly with one of the huge old-fashioned backs on the back seat, and unsecured, because you didn't have to wear such things as seat belts in those days. Sorry, I'm just cleaning up the mess of my hands because they really are very disgusting, and I just needed a bit of a, not that they're not going to be very disgusting again in a minute, because they are, because that's just life, but hopefully less disgusting. So there we are. So I've got my beautiful gold but muted black with the lacer gel. Now then, okay. Right, let's lid that. Let's lid that. You had a telly with a magnifier on the back. I don't think I ever had on the front. I don't think I ever had. We ever had one of those at home. Yeah, my parents very much resisted having a television until they were given one for free. Right, that is still wet. I can see that is still wet. So let's just give that a little blast before we pick it up, because I can't distress that while it's wet. That would be better. Some of those are almost dry. Yeah, we've lived through some incredible advances, haven't we, when you think about it? We really have lived through some incredible advances. So this one is called Oak. I've now got it mixed with some of the brown. And it's a, I don't know, is it oak? To me it's almost a muted green colour, but maybe that's not what you see, I don't know, but to me it's a muted green or a muddy green, and that's going to work fine for this. We'll just pick up, so it's just softer, I think, sometimes to add something other than brown to distress and age things. Oh dear, oh dear, that piece is determined to be flipping nuisance. There's just one area that I keep to. I definitely didn't see the Queen's coronation. My husband did. He's 10 years older than me, 11 years older than me, and he absolutely remembers the seeing the coronation, and everyone from the whole street being crammed into his parents' front room, because they were the only people that had a television, and everyone from the whole of the road came to look at what was going on. Rather than having to because televisions were few and far between then, weren't they? I think a lot of people had them in the village hall rather than in a person, in an individual's home for the coronation. Yeah, absolutely. So this is just a much softer way of antiquing or distressing or pulling your colours together, or putting stuff into the depths of your projects than using vintage patina antiquing paste from Stamperia, or the Umbra patina from Pentart. Now, I mean, I love both of those products, but it, you have to one more to do. Hopefully that is now dry. So it, but not everyone wants a really brown project, she says, having done a very brown wood background, but hey ho. Here we are. Let's just pop stuff in. I think I might have disturbed some yellow paint there, looking at what's going on there, but that's okay, because flowers are not all the same shade, are they? So that's also part of my thought process when I'm doing things like this. It's an easy way, and I'm not necessarily the world's best painter. In fact, let's correct that. I know I'm not the world's best painter, so you learn tricks that will give you an effect that you like. There we are. So there we are. Right, let's pop that over there. That can go on the floor. That can go there. That can go there. Those two can come here. Right. Let's pop that back in here. We all have things in our pasts to be proud of. I'm sure we all have things in our pasts that maybe we should be less proud of. 1, 2, no, that was 1 and 2. Let's just shuffle some of this lot out of the way. There we are. Let's unblock that hole whilst the going is good. There we are, because I need that for off live when I can. So there we are. We're going to pop that there. So I'm actually going to use some of my pieces of paper to hold some of these together for a whole host of reasons, because that's what I want to do and because it's going to work for me. And then off live, when everything is dried in place, I will then I can put everything together. So I'm just going to edge the sides of my ephemera. I really like the ephemera. You can cut your images out from paper and that's fine, but they're very soft and they're not very substantial. I find the die cut chipboards just too thick and chunky, and the ephemera, because it's on a card, it's just that little bit thicker, and therefore for me works better. Obviously we each have things that we like, and we'll each have things that we like less. Thank you, Liz. It's a cool effect, isn't it? That the wood graining tool is brilliant, I have to say. Now we have a wet piece. There we are. Let's take the backing off this piece of ephemera. It's the only bugbear of the ephemera is its self-adhesive backing, which is a pain in the proverbial bottom for getting off. Hey ho. So as you might imagine, I have a plan. So that can go there. Right, now we can tackle this piece. And these are being a pain because I've had them resting on, that'll be my open pack of baby wipes, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? So that is going to bridge those together. That is just going to bridge that together, but there are going to be some other bits added that will again help to bridge these pieces. And now then, the $64,000 question is, can I really remember what I did when I was planning this? Answers on a postcard, please. Right, eeny meeny. So that's us. That's going to go there. That's going to go there. That's going to go there. Right. That can go there. That can go there. That can go there. That's going there. One of those leaves is going to tuck underneath there. That looks quite nice, quite nice. I did have all of these in place. That's a better size, that's a better size, that and those were vaguely there. So let's just pop some of these pieces into here. So that's going to go up there, that's going to go there. I know we had all of these pieces in, so I'm just using, there we are, building some dimension, building some interest, and then I can glue things down when I'm happy that I've got stuff where I really wanted it. That's going to go over a little bit further. And that piece can go in and over there, I think. Do I want that there? Do I want that there? Do I want that there? Do I want that one into there and that there? I think I prefer it like that. So now is the fun and games. Let's find a smaller palette knife, because that one is humongously big and it's going to drive me doolally. So there we are. So let's just pop that onto there. We'll add these pieces in there as we go. That piece can sit there. That piece can sit there. And then I can add these bits. I do often take a photograph of my makes, having laid them out, and then I promptly don't bother looking at them as I put the stuff back in, and that's partly because I've filmed my lives using a thing called OBS, which is a free online streaming program, which gamers use a lot of. And I watch the comments, so I've got control of my OBS system on. Let me just pop that over there and pop that over there. On my phone. And where is the photograph that I've taken? No, prizes on a postcard. Yeah, that will be on my phone. I've also laid this out a few times over the last few days, and having put them down in the way that I am, I'm picking up and putting back, and I've got wriggle room, so I can't glue that piece in because I need to put this piece in first, but it's anchored by what else is already there. So I can now lift this over and add my gel medium to this. And you'll quite often see me using great big globs, but actually tonight these pieces have cast reasonably flat, and so it's less of a problem for me. There we are, and I will tidy up some of that. So that piece then sits into there. So it's me, it's clearly demarcated because of the way I've put the other pieces into place, if that makes sense. So I need to get rid of the blobs that are sitting out here because it'll mark. And now I can add it back in some of these other bits, and some of these I will need a bigger blob for because they're going to be semi proud, aren't they? So that is going to go there. That's going to go there. Where's my car? So let's lift that off. So my car is going to go onto there. and I want him to be, and I couldn't glue this if it was paper. Well, I could do it, but it wouldn't work so well. So I can use my gel medium to pop my car into place there. And the gel medium is just going to, I've got a hole there, and I could just fill it up with gel medium, but just bear with while I find an appropriate bit of something to fill the gap, so I don't waste masses of gel medium. I know it's not globally a very expensive product, but it's there is no point in using medium you don't need to. So I can pop a little bit of you onto there, pop that there. I'll need a bit more, I think. Let's get rid of that. So these are just leftover bits of MDF that I've got lying around. Yeah, you might as well. And that's going to help stabilise this piece, because otherwise it's going to have relatively few contact points until partly because of the way I'm adding my other pieces to it. So that can sit onto there. So we know that we want to have that sitting there. I want another leaf tucked into there. And I don't want these pieces to all be sitting flat. I want the piece to have a degree of movement to it. So hence the way I've got stuff that I'm lifting up, and I've got some of these at an angle rather than just completely flat, and that piece can tuck underneath there. So here we might pop you there. There we are. We might move you into there a little bit, move that into there, move that into there, and then I can just wipe off the excess gel medium that's in the way that I don't like, because it will dry opaque from here. So I now have my car, my lines reasonably well aligned, all of my pieces in place. I could add some waxes if I want to, but actually I don't know that I do want to at this point in time, but I am going to add my inevitable splatters. I could use metallic pigments, I could use Lysergis, but actually I want to lighten this piece because it's all very dark, and I'm going to do that by adding a little bit of dry brushing. Let's find an appropriately crackered brush. So I'm just going to literally pounce that paint into, it's a beigey colour paint, into my brush, and then I can add, just to soften the piece, soften some of these colours, just adds just another layer onto some of these pieces. You can see how adding it just adds a little bit of extra interest, helps me bring out the texture, and I can do this and go back over it lots and lots of different times until I'm happy that I've got everything how I wanted. And I've deliberately not chosen white because I don't really have any white in my whole project. I've gone for a beigey colour because it's softer. There we are. And now I can just take some water and fill in the background and link all my layers just with a little spattering. I am going to, I think, add a little bit of black splatter because I just think it needs it for no other reason. So if I've got my, I usually have, do I have a black paint sitting there? It'd be very unusual for me not to have a black paint pot sitting in front of me. Here we are. And we'll take a fan brush and a spray of water. And just add just a little bit. It's quite easy to go over top, but actually just a little bit I think will just finish it up and give that little extra bit of interest. There we are. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a fabulous flourish. It's a Le Blanche mould, my darlings, if that's what you want, but there are lots of flourish moulds on the market, so just have a little look around. They come in different assorted sizes, but it is a truly spectacular brush. And I have to be fair and say that I don't own that mould, because I felt I already had other flourish moulds, and so a very dear friend of mine came over and I cast a couple, because that's the thing with moulds, isn't it? We can spend a small fortune on them and use them only once or twice, and that becomes very expensive. Whereas if we can mix and match and borrow from each other, that seems like a good idea. Thank you, Louisa. Thank you, Liz. I'm glad you like it. Thanks, Sheila. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Diane. I hope I haven't offended anyone by missing anyone. Saying, do like this now, it looks strange at you when you say it. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There we are. So that's all for tonight. And we haven't gone too over time. I do think it's more important to create a quality project than to be fixated with time. So I wish everyone well. Liz Wheeler and myself are off teaching this weekend. Liz will be doing the live next Wednesday. Sam Lang will be introducing you to some fabulous new Mad Hatters MDF designs with a sneaky peek and a live on a Saturday night on Mad Hatters Crafty Hatters, ahead of the next Mad Hatters shows on Silly Telly on the 8th. And I think I can probably say that it's a steampunky style, but quite vague, and you might think Oriental, and that's a real yeah, so hopefully that will have given you something all to think about, and I haven't spilt too many beans. So good night, ladies. Take care. Bye.